guys, Melissa here at TCT Crafts. Thank you guys so much for joining today. I hope you guys are enjoying my channel where we try to show you a variety of different wreath and fake bake designs. So last week we did a fake bake. Today I wanted to do something that I've been promising you guys. I promised we would do a wreath on a pre-made wreath base instead of using our artificial pine base. So that is what we did today. So we did kind of a neutral fall design using a pre-made wire wreath base. So we're not using an artificial pine base today. If this is your first time joining, make sure you subscribe, leave me a little comment, let me know where you're watching from, and let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay guys, today we are going to make a wreath using a pre-made wire wreath form. So I promised that I would make one of these on this type of wreath form instead of using the artificial pine wreath base. So we're going to make one today. So this is what I used to use all the time, was these pre-mades. I actually started using the wire frames from the Dollar Tree, and I would make my own little ties out of pipe cleaners. And then after that, I kind of progressed to these. And then now I just love the artificial pine wreath bases. And so that's all I pretty much use for my designs. But if you are more comfortable with using these that already have your pre-made ties, that is perfectly fine. It is just whatever preference you have. So we're going to go ahead and design with this today. So we're going to go and kind of do how I used to do, which is cutting my mesh. So I cut it differently when I'm using one of these wire frames. As you can see, the wire is quite exposed versus using the artificial pine base. It's fully covered. You do not see it. So we're going to need to use some higher quality mesh and a little bit more mesh today, and we need to be a little bit more conscious of making things the same size so that it really fills in nicely. When you're using the artificial pine, it's more forgiving. You don't have to really measure. It's very full. So let's just keep that in mind. I'm going to set this aside for right now. One thing before I put it aside, we want to note there are 10 ties on the outside ring, and there are 8 ties on the inside ring. So we know we're going to need 10 and 8, 18 things of mesh. So let's set this aside. I'm going to use 2 different colors today. I'm going to use this like burlap and cream, and this is a heavier mesh. I like to use the heavier mesh when I'm using the wire wreath forms, just because there is you know, so much in between the wires we need to cover versus the artificial pine. If you're using the artificial pine, you can get away with using the cheaper mesh, like the value mesh. But for this, I like to use the thicker, like poly jute or the burlap type of mesh. So we're actually going to measure this out. Now for the outside ring, I like to have probably about 30 inches. Now I've got my smaller mat up here today, so we're going to go, it only goes to 22 inches. So I'm just going to go 5, and then we'll cut it at the 22. So we'll be about 27 inches. It's a little bit smaller than what I would normally do, but let's do it. And we're just going to take a rotary cutter. And I haven't used this in forever, so it's probably not the sharpest, but here's our first set. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. I'll show you a couple times, and then I will fast forward until we get to the inside ring. So again, I'm going to do about 5, and it's not exact, but close, very close. Okay. Second one. Let's do one more together. So again, I'm going to take about 5 inches, pull it out. And I'm only having to do that because my mat isn't it's not my big mat. My big mat goes past 30 inches. But I just have my little one. Okay. So I'm going to do a few more and then we'll come back to do the inside. Okay, so for the inside ring, we're going to go a little bit smaller just because it's a smaller ring. So I'm going to go to about 22 inches and cut. And another thing I want to point out is I double because I'm doing 2 different colors. I went ahead and doubled them. If you find it easier just to cut one roll at a time, you definitely can do that. Okay, so we have all of our mesh cut out. So I'm gonna bring our ring back, and I'm gonna start with the outside and then go to the inside. It's just the way I do it. You can start, I know lots of people, wreath makers, that will start from the inside and go out. I'm just gonna do it from the outside. Now, I do roll my mesh differently when I'm using these. So typically I would hold it up on my chest and roll it in if you've watched some of my other videos, but I like to have a little bit nicer of a curl for this. So I'm just gonna roll, I'm just taking the cut in, just rolling it in a couple times. I will use my fingers and scrunch until I get close to the end. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna roll this in a little bit and then pinch it together. We have a little string we'll cut off there, but now I have this nice little butterfly, okay? Now I'm gonna put on the outside ring, I'm gonna put 2 in each tie, just because I want fuller coverage. You do not have to do that. You could do 1 in each tie and you would be fine. I just like my wreaths a little fuller, so I'm gonna put 2 in each tie. Okay, have my little butterfly. You could put it in like this. I just always flip it over, just the way I do it. So I'm gonna untie this and set this right, and I'm pushing it down really tightly and tying that, twisting that tie around there, okay? So let's do a couple more and then I'll fast forward and finish that till we get to the inside ring. So again, I'm going to roll a couple rolls, just kind of scrunch it up till I get close to the end, and then roll it together. Gonna set that one in there. Roll, scrunch, and roll. Okay. I'm gonna untie this, set that right on top, push it down nice and tight, and really tie those ties tight. You can see how full this bottom's getting now. It's helping cover up those wires. Let's do one more, and then I'll speed the video up so you don't have to watch me do this. Okay, roll. Just 2 or 3 times. Scrunch till I get close to the end. Roll. And I have my little butterfly. Or ruffle, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to push that in there. And get rid of our rotary cutter. I don't need that anymore. Roll. Scrunch and roll. Now let me show you, I don't want to confuse you, but I do want to show you there is another way. So I'm doing it on its backside. You can flip it over, and some people will take their fingers and roll like this, just all the way up. You can do that as well. I just prefer to do it this way because I like to roll my ends. It helps so that it doesn't fray so much. It's gonna fray, it's mesh, but it just kind of helps control the fray a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to open this back up and push it in there. Okay, I'm gonna finish the outside ring and then we'll come back and we'll do the inside ring together. Okay, I wanted to show you guys this. So when I was cutting my mesh, I did not count accurately. I lost count of how many cuts I did. So we've got one more tie here and I've only got a little bit of mesh. So let me show you. This mesh is not gonna be exactly as big as what we had before. but that's okay. I'm just going to use what we have. It's going to be very full. I'm not going to be worried about it. So when I first started, if it wasn't exact and I ran out, I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough mesh. I need to run to Hobby Lobby. I got to get another roll. If you're just lacking that one little tie, because we're going to have other things going in here. Now, if all you were doing was the mesh wreath and maybe just the sign, then I would say you might be a little bit more concerned. But we are going to be adding ribbons and some greenery and some other things. So by the time we get all of that in there, you're not even going to really be able to tell that we've got that one little tie that's a little bit less mesh than the other one. So you can still salvage your project. You don't have to panic and run to Hobby Lobby. See? Can you see? Can you tell? Which tie has a little bit less? It's very hard to tell, right? So that's why I'm not worried about that. Okay, so let's do our inside. Now the inside, on the outside ring, I doubled up. So I did 2 ruffles in each tie. On the inside ring, I'm just gonna do 1 ruffle on the inside because we're gonna have a sign in there. So we're just gonna do 1 of each, same way that I did the outside. It's just the mesh is a little bit shorter. And I'm just going to make sure these are tied nicely, nice and tight. Now, if you want to add 2 to the inside, you definitely can. I just brought the 2 rolls of mesh so that we could keep this project a little less expensive. So this will be a more affordable, oh look, I was trying to put 2 in there. This will be a more affordable option for somebody that wants a pretty wreath on their door, that doesn't want to spend as much as we have to spend for some of the over-the-top designs. So trying to keep a little bit of variety and price points for our different customers is always a good idea. So I'm only going to do 1 because if I doubled up, I'd have to open another roll of mesh. So let me finish the inside and then we'll come back. Okay, so we've gone all the way around. Now I'm going to do something, you do not have to do this, but I'm going to take 1 of the ties from the top ring, 1 of the ties from the bottom ring, and I'm just going to pull and twist them. That kind of helps close in that gap a little bit. So I'm just twisting them together. And you don't have to do every one, just every couple. And this again is just optional. It's something I just like to do to kind of fill in and pull those rings together a little bit. Okay, so now we have our wreath base. Nice and full, right? Okay, so let me see if I can move this up just a hair. I don't know if it's going to be any better for you guys to see it. Okay, you can see a little bit more of the wreath. Okay, so now let's add our sign. So we're going to keep this a very kind of neutral, little rustic farmhouse. I mean, not farmhouse. Well, yeah, it could be farmhouse. Rustic fall is what I meant. So we're going to have a sign. Let's kind of lay it out. I'm thinking 2 pumpkins, 2 of these kind of burlap pumpkins on opposite corners. Maybe like in there. And then a bow. Okay. So on the back of our sign, I just added these cable tie mounts with some super glue and some hot glue. And then I just took some pipe cleaners and just running it through there and twisting. And then I like to go and add just a dab of glue around the twisty tie. Just make sure it doesn't come undone. Okay. While that is setting for a minute, let's cut the tags off our pumpkins. Now I got these pumpkins a couple years ago, but all the stores are starting to put their fall out, so you should be able to find pumpkins at a lot of the different stores: Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, probably Home Goods, At Home. And so these are just some sort of neutral looking pumpkins. I'm wondering if I want to change my sign placement. I think I kind of want it in the corner, bow here, and then our 2 pumpkins. I think I like that. So let's get our pumpkins in, and then we'll do our sign. Since I know I want them exactly right here. Now I'm just going to glue these in. Get another glue stick. Lots of Gorilla Glue. Want it right in this little cavity right here. If you want to secure it a little bit more, you can always take a pipe cleaner and try to weave it around the stem, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want my pipe cleaner to show. Just going to make sure that's attaching really nicely to that mesh, which it is, and it should not go anywhere. A little bit more right on those ties, all the way around that mesh. Okay, let's get this one in. So I want this one to kind of sit right in there. I'm going to leave some mesh down on the bottom so that it has something to glue to. I'm going to try to see if I could push this, because this pumpkin is foam, if I could push this tie through the bottom of the pumpkin. But it's not, it's pretty sturdy, so. Okay, I'm I'm going to go around, add lots of glue. All around that mesh. There is these little ropes. I don't know if you could, no, they're glued on there pretty good. I was gonna say maybe you could take a pipe cleaner, run it through the rope and then tie it, but it's on there pretty good. So we're just gonna leave it. It's not gonna go anywhere. Okay, now let's add our sign. So I decided I want to do sort of catty corner right there. So I'm going to do the corners. I'm going to do corner to corner first. So I'm going to start here. I'm just weaving that pipe cleaner through the mesh, and I'm going to tie it around that wire ring. If I can get it through the mesh. This is always a difficult part for me. There we go. Okay. I'm going to tie it tight, but not too tight. Okay, now I'm going to go to the opposite corner. And again, we'll feed it through. And then tie it onto that ring. Feed this one through. There we go. Okay, and then let's do the other sides. You would probably be okay with just doing 2 ties, but just for extra insurance, okay, now let's do our last one. Through the mesh. Now we have our sign. If you want, you can take and we can add a little bit of glue back here. Just where the corners are like touching that mesh, like up underneath. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and add our bow. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring out my handy dandy bow maker, and I'm going to start with this E. Stevens. I've had this forever, so I do not know if they still have it in stock, but any type of burlap will work. And I think I want to do sort of like a funky bow. So I'm going to do about 8-inch tail up top. Let's go to about 7 inches, twist. Let's go 7 inches and scrunch it down. Trying to see if I want to do, no, we'll just leave it like that. I was debating whether I wanted to go ahead and do 2 loops on each side, but I think we'll just leave it like that. And then I'm going to leave this tail a little longer. Let's see, let's leave it about 12 inches. And we can cut it down. I just want to make sure we have it long enough. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in this cabana tray, and we're going to go to the opposite. So we had tail up towards the right. Now we're going to go tail towards the left. Scrunch. I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch shorter on my loop. And then cut my tail. Okay. And now the last one I'm going to use is another kind of burlap. So we're not using a 4-inch this time. If you had a 4-inch burlap, I didn't have one, but if you had a 4-inch burlap, you could definitely use a 4-inch as well. I like to use the 4-inch. It adds a lot of coverage. I just didn't have one that I found that I really liked to match my project. Ooh, just dropped them scissors. That could have been on my foot. Okay. Now I'm going to get my zip tie. You can use pipe cleaner. I just prefer zip tie. And run it underneath and up through the middle. And I'm going to kind of pull it and then just kind of twist this. Twist these how I like them. Put my pipe cleaner in the back. Fix my little tails. And once I kind of get it like I want it, then I'll cinch it really tight. I'm looking for my, there they are, little cutters. Now I'm going to take, because I want my center nice and pretty, I take a little bit of this stripe. Just going to cut it in half. I'm just going to fold it onto itself. And then just wrap it around the center, tie it off in the back. Give it a trim. All right, and then I like to add just a dab of glue on there. just to make sure it's not going to come untied. All right, while that's sitting there for a minute, because I don't really want to burn my fingers, I'm going to get a drink of water. Hopefully you guys are liking this simpler design. It's still going to be really cute. It's just a little different than what I normally do. Let's go ahead and get our wreath back up here. We're going to put our bow right in here. So I am just going to take and wrap it around that wire. Go through the mesh on this side and tie it off in the back. Okay, let's cut our tails. Now I think on this one, no, it worked pretty good. I was gonna say, we may have to just cut it straight across, but it's holding its shape pretty good. Leave the bottom tails a little bit longer. Okay, so that's what we have. We have our little bow there. I think we need something up here, maybe like a little half bow, and then we'll add some tails and then a little bit of greenery, and then we are going to be done. So over on this side, let's do just a one loop. Let's do a one loop bow. One loop. Twist it. And again, tension it in the middle, just doing one loop, a little bit smaller than the other one, and then twisting. Okay, so now we have all of our loops. I'm going to undo this little tie right here a little bit and push it down in there. Our tails. We can always pull some tails to go up. Let's do that. Let's put a couple. We'll do some up and some down tails. So I'm going to cut these top one shorter. And we'll leave these longer. Okay, so we have our little one loop bow there. We have our little funky bow there. Now in this corner, let's add some tails. And then we'll probably add some tails around too. So let me see. Yeah, let's do maybe, we'll do tails and then maybe like a one loop of this. So it's not quite a bow, but that way we've kind of got three corners with something going on. And then we'll just add some tails around it. So what I mean by that is we'll do let's measure out. I'm going to measure out on my little board here. Let's measure out, let's do 14 inches. We can trim it down if we need to, but let's do 14 inches. I'm going to go ahead and give it a dovetail. Okay, I'm just going to try to line these up here. Fold it in the center, pinch it. Okay, now let's find let's do this tie right here. And then let's take our burlap. And let's do just one loop. Okay. So that way we have a little bit more going on than just tails. We got kind of a little one loop going on there. Just fix your tails like you like it. Okay. Now let's go add some tails around our design. So I'm gonna find a tie. Now this one here is one of the ties. So let's do, let me don't jump ahead of myself here. Let's do 14 inches again. Find my center. Okay, now this tie that I would tie it to is one that I use to connect to the top ring. So what I need to do is I need some help with tying it. So I'm going to get a little bit of pipe cleaner. Come on, cut it. There we go. I'm going to get a pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to use the pipe cleaner to tie around that wire. Since I don't have the tie to tie it into, we're just making our own. Okay. So we have our little burlap tail there. Let's find, we've got a bow here. Let's add we'll put these two together. So again, I'm going to measure out 14 inches. Now when I'm doing my artificial pine bases, I don't typically measure my tails. I just put it in there. But again, that artificial pine is a little bit more forgiving, and we usually have a lot more going on in them. So I want these to be a little bit more even as far as the sizing goes. So I'm just going to take and twist this in there. Okay, let's do another burlap. So we'll just kind of alternate between the burlap and our two 1.5. So again, 14 inches. And I just noticed I need to dovetail this other burlap because I did not do it. So let me do that before I forget it. Open this tie, push it right down in there, and then tie it back. All right, let's add. Now, if you wanted to cut all these, if you've got one of those like ribbon tail boards, you can cut all your tails on your ribbon board, or you can cut all your tails at the same time. I used to have one of those ribbon boards, but when I quit making these type of wreaths and I started using the artificial pine and don't really measure, then I kind of got rid of it. One less thing in my craft room, right? Okay, I'm going to open up this tie a little bit. Push it down in there. Okay. Add burlap. So we're just going to alternate. So I'm going to finish doing this all the way around. I'm just alternating burlap and then the two 1.5s. So I'll fast forward through this part and then we will come back. Okay, so I have gone all the way around, alternating between the burlap and then the two 1.5 inch. So we've gone all the way around. We've got all our ribbons. We could totally stop here. It's a very simple yet pretty neutral fall design, but I'm going to take it just a little bit further, and we're going to add a little bit of greenery in here. So I'm just taking some of this greenery bush. This came from Hobby Lobby. We have something similar in the shop if you don't want to go to Hobby Lobby. I think it's called the Maidenhair Fern Bush. This one from Hobby Lobby I'll put in the comments. It is a pusher, meaning that you can push these little stems up to make them nice and full. So I'm just going to do that. And then cut. And then what we're going to do is just, I'm going to take and kind of tuck a little bit of the greenery in there all the way around. I'm going to make sure I'm touching and trying to twist these into some of the pine ties, or the little twisty ties, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue. I've tied it in there. I want a little up here coming out of the bow. Well, there's not really a tie there, so I'm just going to kind of shove it down in that bow and mesh. Make sure that glue sticks nicely. And since I ended up putting that there, we wouldn't have had to make our center of our bow pretty, but that's okay. We could have saved that step. I see some tails I did not cut over here. So let me dovetail them before I forget. And make sure the rest of them. Okay. Alright, see if I've got a tie over here. I do. Just twisting it around that tie and adding glue. Can't tie this one, but I can push it down into that twist tie. So just a little bit, and like I said, you can skip this part. You do not have to add the greenery if you don't want. You could keep it just all neutral. A little less expensive. I just wanted a little pop of green in there. Okay, I've got the tie right here in the center of this bow, or this little loop. So I'm going to tie it. Okay, let's cut up another one. So So on bush number 2, get the sticker off. Okay, I'm gonna push these up. Just pushing them up. And this one, there it goes. Okay. I'm cutting them fairly short just because I don't want them poking through the back of my wreath. I want it really hitting that mesh or those little ties. So I don't need my stems really long. Okay, let's go maybe right up. I've got this twisty thing right here. And then I'm going to push it down because I don't want it like sticking too far out. Add some glue. Twist tie right here. So I'm just going to tie that around my stem. And then add some glue. Okay, we've got a little twisty stem right here. Kind of get up under that pumpkin a little bit. Now let's kind of try to push that one right up underneath that pumpkin. We'll kind of cover the bottom of our pumpkin, or a little bit of our mechanics where we glued it. Let's do the same thing on this other pumpkin. So let me go ahead and cut up one more, so it looks like we're going to use 3 of these, or at least 2.5. Look at there, I just pulled that greenery right off there. Okay, again, I'm just going to push them up. That just makes them fuller, since I'm using them as like filler bushes. We'll just commit to using all of this. We'll find spots for it. Okay, so I now want to go right up under this pumpkin to kind of hide our mechanics at the bottom. Ooh, that was hot right on my fingers. And let's go maybe right up here by the pumpkin. That kind of fills in our center a little bit. Let's go over there. Kind of married it up to that other one. Okay, let's see where we might have any little holes that we need some more greenery. Really need to kind of hang it up. Let's go underneath the bow We went up the top of the bow. Let's go underneath the bow. I go underneath this ribbon. All right, let's see. Let's see if we have any other little spots. We have one little piece left, so we've got to find a spot for it. I can always save it for when I hang it up too, but I think we need something a little bit more up here at the top, underneath our sign. There we go. All right, I think we're done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this design, something a little different than we normally do. We used our pre-made wire wreath base. We have a sign, 2 pumpkins, ribbons, and a little bit of greenery. And it's turned out super pretty. Hope you guys enjoy. Till next time. Bye, guys.